Have you ever felt like your mind works in ways you can't explain, like you notice things other people ignore, like you sense moods and energies without anyone saying a word, or you feel strangely out of place in groups, even when you're surrounded by people? Maybe you've always known deep down that something about you is different, not wrong, not broken, just different. What if Carl Jung would say these are not flaws, but the first signs that you're gifted in a way most people will never understand? There comes a moment in every gifted person's life when they stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and finally whisper, "Wait, what if this is who I'm meant to be?" If you've ever felt misunderstood, too intense, too observant, too emotional, too intuitive, too you, this video is not here to fix you, it's here to reveal you. Because today we're breaking down 7 strange signs you're different, according to the depth psychology of Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in human history. And trust me, if even 3 of these resonate with you, you're not just unique, you're gifted. Stay until the end because sign number 7 is the rarest one, and if you feel it, your life is never going to look the same again. Carl Jung wasn't just another psychologist. He wasn't trying to put people in boxes or diagnose their behavior. He was the one who dared to say, the most important journey you will ever take is the one into your own inner world. Jung believed that some people, only a small percentage, have a mind wired for depth, intuition, symbolism, and emotional intelligence that goes far beyond the average. He called this rare group old souls, intuitive types, the individuating ones, or people who are guided by the self rather than the world around them. This is the person who sees patterns in chaos, who feels what others suppress, who notices what others overlook, who walks their own path, even if it means walking alone. His ideas weren't just academic, they were mystical, spiritual, and shockingly accurate for people who've always felt different. So if you've ever sensed a divide between you and the rest of the world, you're exactly the kind of mind Jung was writing about. According to Jung, gifted individuals don't stand out because they try to. They stand out because they can't not. Their inner world is louder, sharper, deeper, and more alive. And these differences show up in very specific, very unusual ways. So let's begin with the first sign. The first sign you're different shows up in the way your mind notices things other people never even register. You pick up shifts in energy, details in behavior, patterns beneath the surface, not because you're trying to, but because your awareness is naturally sharper than most. Some people walk through life half asleep, barely noticing what's happening around them. But gifted minds, they see everything, not because they try to, but because they can't help it. You notice the way someone's eyes shift when they lie. You pick up the tension in a room the moment you walk into it. You sense when something is off even before anyone says a word. You can tell how someone is feeling from a single tone in their voice. You can predict outcomes, almost like your brain is doing silent calculations. And here's the strange part. You've been doing this your whole life, long before you even realized it was unusual. Jung would say this is the sign of a strong intuition function, a psychological superpower that allows you to perceive patterns and truths beneath the surface of everyday life. Most people focus on what's obvious. You focus on what's real. Most people see the event. You see the pattern behind it. Most people hear what someone says. You feel what they mean. This is why people often tell you, "You read me too well," or "How did you know this was going to happen?" To the average mind it looks like magic. To you it's just obvious. But here's the part most gifted people don't realize. Your hyper-awareness is also why you get exhausted faster. Your brain is processing more sensory and emotional data than others even notice. This doesn't mean you're overthinking. It means you are over-perceiving. A Jungian gifted mind isn't louder, it's deeper. Imagine living with a high-definition brain in a world full of people using low resolution. That's you. Let me ask you this. Have you always felt like you just know things even when you can't logically explain why? If yes, you're likely carrying the first sign of a truly gifted personality. The second sign appears in that quiet feeling you've carried your whole life, the sense that you're separate, somehow different, even when surrounded by others. This feeling of being an outsider has followed you for as long as you can remember. And it's not an accident. It's a sign of a deeper path unfolding inside you. This is one of the deepest, most painful, and most accurate signs. Gifted people rarely feel like they belong, not because they're arrogant, not because they think they're better, but because they're simply different in frequency. From childhood, you may have felt like you weren't like the others. You saw the world differently, your thoughts were too much. Your interests were unusual, you couldn't relate to shallow conversations. You felt older than your age. Groups made you feel more alone than being alone did. And here's the secret Jung revealed. This feeling is not a flaw. It's not a sign of social failure. It's not because you're weird. It's because your psyche began the process of individuation much earlier than most. Individuation is Jung's term for becoming who you truly are, separate from the expectations, beliefs, and thought patterns of the collective. Most people copy the world around them. Gifted people outgrow it. Most people fit into groups. Gifted people are guided by an inner compass. Most people want approval. Gifted people want authenticity. You're not an outsider because you can't fit in. You're an outsider because your soul refuses to shrink to match your environment. Think about every moment you felt out of place, at school, in friendships, in jobs, in conversations. You were not lost. You were misplaced. There's a difference. Jung believed that gifted individuals often feel isolated because the world mirrors back only their surface, never their depth. You might be quiet in groups, not because you're shy, but because the conversation is too shallow for the size of your mind. You might drift away from people, not because you dislike them, but because your intuition senses their emotional immaturity. You might walk alone, not because no one wants you, but because your path is meant for fewer footsteps. Let me ask you honestly, have you spent most of your life feeling like something about you just doesn't match the world around you? If yes, you're experiencing one of the clearest signs of a Jungian gifted soul. The third sign reveals itself in your emotions, how deeply you feel, how intensely you experience things that others brush off as nothing. Your inner world reacts with a richness most people will never understand, and while it can overwhelm you, it's also one of your greatest gifts. Gifted people don't just feel, they feel deeply. While others dismiss small moments, you absorb them. A simple comment can echo in your mind for days. A harsh tone can sting like a cut. A beautiful song can move you to tears. A stranger's sadness can sit in your chest as if it were your own. And maybe for years you were told you're too sensitive, you take things too seriously, you're overreacting. You think too much, why are you so emotional? But here's what Jung would say, your emotional intensity is not a weakness. It's the sign of an expanded inner world, a psyche capable of depth, nuance, and symbolic perception. Most people skate across the surface of their feelings. You dive straight into the depths. Jung believed that deeply feeling individuals are closer to the unconscious, meaning they experience their emotions not only as reactions, but as messages, truths, and forms of inner guidance. This is why you can sometimes feel overwhelmed. You're processing more information than others even notice. Let's be real for a moment. Have you ever been in a conversation and suddenly felt the emotional undercurrent beneath the words, the disappointment, jealousy, longing, fear, even when the person was pretending everything was fine? That's emotional X-ray vision. Have you ever walked away from a social gathering, feeling absolutely drained, as if you carried the emotional weight of everyone in the room? That's hypersensitivity to emotional fields. Have you ever had a feeling about someone long before you understood why, and later realized you were right? That's Jungian intuition speaking through emotion. Society punishes deep feelers because depth scares people who prefer simplicity. But Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Your emotional depth is the gateway to your growth. It gives you empathy, insight, compassion, creativity, and wisdom. You are not too much. You simply feel the world in high resolution, and that is one of the most powerful gifts a human can have. Let me ask, do your emotions sometimes feel like they have layers, echoes, and meanings that most people don't understand? If yes, that's the third sign, your emotional world is richer than most. The fourth sign becomes clear in the way life seems to speak to you through patterns, coincidences, and perfectly timed moments that feel anything but random. These synchronicities are not accidents. They appear because your inner world and outer world are beginning to align. If you're gifted in the Jungian sense, you live at the intersection between the inner world and the outer world, and because of that, something strange happens in your life. Synchronicities, little signs, meaningful coincidences, moments that feel too perfectly timed to be random. Jung coined the word synchronicity to describe events that connect your inner state to the outer world in ways that defy logic but feel undeniably real. If you're gifted, this happens a lot. You think of someone you haven't heard from in years and they message you. You're struggling with a problem and the exact quote, video, or conversation you need appears at the perfect moment. You keep seeing the same numbers 11, 11, 222, 333, especially during times of transformation. You say something out loud and hear the same phrase on the radio 2 seconds later. You feel called to go somewhere for no logical reason, and something important happens when you get there. Most people dismiss these moments as coincidences, but gifted people feel the meaning behind them. They sense the connection. Jung believed that synchronicities appear more frequently to individuals who are in touch with their unconscious mind, people whose intuition is awake and whose inner world is actively communicating with the outer world. In other words, if you experience synchronicities often, it means you are aligned with your deeper path. Your intuition is guiding you, your unconscious is communicating. Your life has symbolic meaning. You are undergoing inner transformation. Let me give you a small example. Maybe you've been thinking about changing careers, feeling stuck and dissatisfied, and suddenly you see 3 different signs in 1 week: a book, a conversation, a video, each one saying the same thing: take the leap. That's not random, that's synchronicity. Or maybe every time you're about to make a poor decision, something weird happens. Your plans fall apart. The person cancels. Your intuition screams, not this. That's synchronicity guiding you away from danger. You might even feel like the universe nudges you sometimes, as if life is whispering, this way, trust this. Ask yourself, do coincidences in your life feel like messages? Do patterns and signs seem to follow you? Do you feel guided in ways you can't fully explain? If yes, that's the 4th sign of a gifted, intuitive Jungian mind. The 5th sign shows up in the restlessness you feel, that quiet refusal inside you to live a life that's too small, too ordinary, too predictable. You've always known the ordinary would never be enough for you, because your mind is wired for meaning and expansion. This sign is subtle but extremely powerful. Gifted individuals are incapable of living a life that is too small for them. You might have noticed this pattern: you get bored easily. Routine feels suffocating. You can't stay in environments that lack depth or meaning. You crave purpose, creativity, growth, stimulation, and truth. You want conversations that go beyond surface-level gossip. You want work that feels meaningful. You want relationships that are emotionally and intellectually alive. Regular life, the ordinary, repetitive, predictable, feels like a cage. Most people are comfortable with good enough. But good enough feels like slow death. This restlessness isn't attention deficit. It's not immaturity. It's not impatience. It's the calling of the self, the deeper part of your psyche that refuses to let you shrink into a life that doesn't match who you truly are. Jung spoke about creative tension, the internal pressure gifted people feel when they haven't yet grown into themselves. It can feel like a burning desire for more, a sense of untapped potential, frustration with mediocrity, a constant search for meaning, a feeling that you're meant for something greater. This restlessness is the fuel of innovators, artists, thinkers, healers, leaders, people who reshape the world instead of simply living in it. Have you ever noticed how your mind jumps to new ideas, new possibilities, new dreams, even when you try to stay practical? That's not distraction, that's vision. You are wired for a life that is bigger, richer, deeper, and more aligned with your inner truth. And until you find that path, your soul refuses to sit quietly. Let me ask, do you feel like the ordinary world just isn't enough for you? Like you're meant for something beyond what everyone else seems satisfied with? If yes, That is the fifth sign. You carry the restlessness of a gifted mind. The sixth sign can be seen in the way you understand people, how you sense their intentions, emotions, and truth long before they ever say a word. This ability to see through others isn't something you learned. It's something you've always carried, often without knowing why. There's something about you that makes people uncomfortable, and something about you that makes others open up instantly. Both reactions come from the same gift. You can see people's truth before they show it. Most people need months or years to understand someone. You can read a person in minutes. A single expression, a slight hesitation, a micro shift in tone, a contradiction between words and energy, you pick up on all of it. You don't do this consciously, it's automatic, effortless, natural. Jung believed that certain individuals possess a rare sensitivity to the shadow, the hidden, unspoken part of the psyche that most people suppress or deny. You don't just see who someone pretends to be, you see who they are. That's why some people feel exposed around you. Some avoid eye contact with you. Some act defensive even though you said nothing. Some feel strangely safe confessing things to you. Strangers tell you deeply personal details. Friends say, "I don't know why I just told you that." Your presence pulls the truth to the surface. You see every emotional crack, every insecurity, every unspoken need, every suppressed desire, not because you judge, but because you perceive. Jung would say this is a sign of a developed connection with both your own shadow and the shadow of others. You've done inner work, maybe without even realizing it. You confront your own truth, so you can't help but perceive truth in others. This ability makes you an excellent listener, a natural healer, a powerful observer, a dangerous opponent, and an unforgettable presence. But let's be honest, this gift comes with weight. You see red flags long before anyone else admits they exist. You sense dishonesty before the lie is told. You feel the emotional storm long before it arrives. Your instincts rarely fail you, but people often ignore or misunderstand them. They may call you paranoid, dramatic, or too intuitive, until, eventually, they realize you were right all along. Let me ask, do you ever just know someone's true intentions? Do you sense lies, motives, and energies instantly? Do people either open up to you deeply or avoid you entirely? If yes, that's the sixth sign. You have Jungian shadow vision, the ability to see what others hide. And the seventh, rarest sign reveals itself through a feeling you can't quite explain, a pull towards something greater, as if your life is being guided by an unseen direction. You may not know where this path leads yet, but you can feel it. Something inside you knows you're meant for more. Out of all 7 signs, this is the rarest and the most life-changing. Gifted individuals often feel a pull, a whisper, a sense of direction that doesn't come from logic, or society, or fear, or even ambition. It comes from somewhere deeper. It feels like, I'm meant for something, my life has a purpose, but I don't fully understand it yet. There's something I must do, even if I don't know what it is. I feel guided, pushed, or prepared for a future I can't describe. There's a path unfolding, and I'm being moved along it. This is the Jungian call of the self, the moment the deeper psyche begins guiding your life in ways you cannot ignore. It appears as intuition, synchronicity, restlessness, dreams, inner knowing, or a quiet voice inside saying there is more for you. This feeling often intensifies during major transitions, loss, endings, moments of awakening, personal breakthroughs, emotional chaos, spiritual searching. And here's what most people don't understand. The calling rarely arrives as clarity. It arrives as pressure, the feeling of being pushed out of places you've outgrown, the inability to tolerate relationships that drain your spirit, the collapse of old identities, the burning urge to create, express, transform, or discover. Your soul refuses to let you settle. Jung believed that the call is a sign that your psyche is aligned with something larger, a deeper destiny, a personal myth, a life that is unfolding through you. Gifted people often feel this before they know their purpose, before they have the skills, before they have the confidence, before they're ready. It begins as an ache, a longing, a question without words. Let me ask you with full honesty, Do you feel like your life is building towards something? Like there's a meaning behind your struggles? Like you're being guided, shaped, prepared? If yes, that's the seventh rarest sign. You are a gifted soul with a destiny that unfolds one step at a time. If you saw yourself in these signs, even in just 3 or 4, then you're not weird, not too sensitive, not overly intuitive, not too deep, not difficult, not complicated. You are gifted. Your mind is sharper, your emotions are richer, your intuition is stronger, your inner world is fuller. You're wired for depth in a world comfortable with shallowness. You're built for meaning in a world addicted to distraction. You feel more because you are more. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." You are in the process of becoming, and every strange thing about you, every sensitivity, intensity, insight, instinct, emotion, and calling is not random. It's not a flaw. It's not a mistake. It's your design. You were never meant to fit into this world. You were meant to illuminate it. If these signs resonated with you, tell me in the comments, which sign hit you the hardest? Which one felt like it was written about your life? And if you want a follow-up video, 7 signs you're shadow gifted, just write, part 2. Don't forget to save this video, because you'll want to return to it when you start doubting your path. Before you go, hear this: you're not alone. More people like you exist than you think, but they rarely speak up, because they've spent their whole lives feeling out of place. You are not strange. You are not wrong. You are not broken. You are rare. And rare things are not meant to blend in. They are meant to shine. So walk your path with the quiet confidence of someone who finally understands you were never meant to be like the rest. You were meant to be you.